All right, let's go and do this. I guess go ahead and get started here. So with the little bit of an agenda going on. So first of all, I want to review the Pat aging report that we have in the system. It does run with OASIS Online. And the reason for that is we're using more and more of the back-end processors to actually run through your data. And it builds a model of your data that's only used by your company, if you will. And this is going to be one of those examples where it's using machine learning to understand how you do things and how your customers and manufacturers work with you as well. And the result is being able to predict income and a couple other things are pretty neat. So, but to do this, I have to review commission reconciliation. That's just a required part of the process here. You have to give all these routines something to work on. It just can't invent a number out of thin air. But what we find is a lot of people are doing commission reconciliation, and hopefully I can sell the few of you that still aren't doing commission reconciliation yet another reason to do that. Uh, uh, Shipping on orders is also something that the system can use and actually effectively updates and makes the forecast even more precise as it goes forward. And I'll get into how that works here in a minute. And then we can actually use Pat aging to ask for money. Now, this is a good way to augment the way you ask for money from the manufacturers. There's a larger process that I'll hint at in the commission reconciliation that most people are using already. It's not really meant to replace that. It's just to augment it and give you a better way of looking at the details there. And then obviously we want to end with how do we forecast income? And actually I'm going to show you the everything pretty much up front and end it with the same way. So, all right, let's get in. So this is Pat aging the report, and you'll see where we've created the system where there's really three major areas that you're going to see on here. It's going to be called issues, current, and next month. So basically, it's what are the issues you're dealing with right now, money-wise, and these are basically per the system. Probably, and confirm with people who've been using this for a while. These are the orders that you probably are getting held up for some reasons you need to go look into. I'm biting my tongue a little bit and trying to be a little politically correct there. But the current one is actually how much money we're forecast for this time, and I'll get into how you use that in a little bit. And then next month, usually by about the 15th of the month, we find it's pretty close to projection. And I'll show you how this works as we get into it. All right, this has been around for a while. We've just been making improvements and enhancements to it. So if you get on your Oasis Online and start following with me, you may see an old screen that looks like this. It actually works pretty good, but the UI update's just way better. And there's a lot of little enhancements that we've added to it, and we'll continue to enhance as we go forward as well. So look for the new user interface, and it'll be available on 4/11/26. Okay, and we'll get into that. By the way, where you find it, go ahead and show that real quick. Basically, if you log into Oasis Online, go to the invoices section, and under reports, it'll be the Pat aging report. There's a lot of other reports we'll kind of go through with various meetings. And this is what it looks like. This is the issues we'll talk about and how basically go ask for money or another way of asking for money. The current month, how that uses in the next month. So that's just the actual view of it. Okay, now commission reconciliation. I always love it when someone asks me to come out and kind of beef up or talk about processes surrounding commission reconciliation because that's near and dear to my heart because it's money, and anybody who runs a business knows if you don't have cash flow, you're in trouble. So the main thing here is I still am asked to come out, and I find people are not really doing commission reconciliation or have missing processes. And without getting in the weeds, there's just a lot of different things I see out there. But one thing I will actually, this has been confirmed over the decades that for every $1 million of sales top line revenue that you have, you're losing about $1,000 in commissions and overage per year if you're not doing any commission reconciliation at all. And a couple of months ago, I was talking with a customer that has been using the system for a while, and her answer to that was at least because there's just that many issues with the factories. So if you're not doing commission reconciliation, you want more information on that, contact support. I'm going to go over it at a high level here because there's only so much I can do with it in this short format here. And anyway, I love talking about it. So if you want to set up a training on that, I love talking about it. And there's others in the building here that do it as well. Even the big factories make mistakes. So anyway, there's just a lot of issues we have there. All right, so let's talk about the details here. So good order management is really where it begins. So in OASIS, we believe that if you have a good order in the system, then everything follows from that. Okay, so a couple of things you can do up front to make sure that you get a good order in the system outside a quote. Now, in a quote, there's processes you follow there, get the quote number on it and so forth. But just in general, what we recommend is go ahead and set up. And again, I'm going to do everything with the OASIS Online right now. Apologize if you're just using desktop, but everything I'm showing you will apply there as well as far as this part of it. But step one, I like to see everyone do is go ahead and I'll see a lot of admins and sometimes the accounting folks. They'll set up their manufacturer listing, whether it's desktop or online, and they'll go ahead and the standard commission rate, the overage split, and the overage cap basically is what that is.
Yeah, because when you get this other PC in,
Oop, there we go. And what we end up having here is everything you need to go and process basically an order from scratch. It just makes sure that you come in with the proper amount. Just for a standard, I'm going to look it up. So in this case, I'm going to have a 10% or standard commission rate on that, and over split is 75-25. And that usually assumes I'm just hand keying in an order. Now, in addition to that, what we do recommend is if you go in and create a price list, sorry, this is kind of an old price list I have in there, but once you get used to setting up price lists, that helps you even more because now if I key in a catalog number and I select a price, there's a lot of pricing routines in OASIS, you'll get the right commission rate. And then if you have overage, the overage policy will be pulled in there as well. And where I'm trying to get to with all this helps whoever's keying the order or inside of a quote, whoever's managed the quote, to at least get in the ballpark with getting a correct order. And that's what we're trying to do with commission reconciliation. And it begins the process. You're going to hear me say this a number of times. Consistency is what is most important here. And that's true for the machine learning. Now, don't get me wrong, it figures out a lot of noise and issues out there, so you don't have to be precise. But consistent is really what's important to use the system. And actually, it helps you out with just your regular commission reconciliation as well. Okay, so let's talk about the order real quick. I set up a quick order because, again, I didn't want to go through the entire process of creating orders and invoices and everything like that. I just wanted to show you some of the important details right out the gate. And one thing that is kind of neat about the online is you get this little dial thing here, and it shows basically all the order release, the shipments, the invoices, and the payments are all done. So that's what it's trying to show you here. So that's a complete order. That's a nice way of being able to quickly view, hey, this one's done. But to get there, what we want to do is put in the order, and anybody who's used desktop or online is usually familiar with the way OASIS lays things out. Unless you're in grid view, that's another view of this, but this is the standard view inside of OASIS. And what we have here is the order line as you keyed it in. And that's what we're trying to get to, is a good order line. This becomes the target for commission reconciliation. It also begins the way in which we forecast as well. And that'll be the important element here. So what we like to see people to do is if you send this order over to the factory and they bounce back and say, hey, no, it's not 5%, it's 3%, we want you to do a change order in the system. So I won't go through the whole process, but I'll do make changes, I'll key over it and do the internal change thing if you're familiar with that. And again, if this isn't a little foreign to you, support can help you with that. But the main thing is we want this order to be accurate. That's going to affect all your reports. From just order reporting through, again, this whole process here with forecasting income. The second thing is as you receive shipment information, put it in the system. Now, if you have downloads from the factories that we support, that works well. Otherwise, just put in the shipping information as you would normally and do the shipping reports. So again, that's a whole nother set of processes we can talk through that very, very much helps. And what we're going to find here in a minute is this feeds into that reporting system and the AI and how it actually projects income. Okay. And then invoices, obviously we want to apply that invoice. And that's another check that we'll see a lot of folks have is the factory will then send you the invoice. Sometimes they'll send you the commission rate associated with that. We do not want to force the commission rate that the factory has on their invoice on the OASIS order, but we do want to compare them because if they're wrong, that's usually a process failure somewhere. Either you don't have the information in OASIS correctly and it's not being recorded properly, or the factory has changed the rules on you. You need to talk to them. There's some issues that we crash into quite a bit there. So, any questions so far, William? Because I'm just trying to go through the high level commission reconciliation here.
None as of now.
All right. One more item, and then I'll quit boring everybody with the accounting side of this because we want to get to income. All right, I went ahead and pulled in a check inside of OASIS as well. I just wanted to show this, and anybody who's familiar with doing commission reconciliation, it comes up with the invoices here. You mark the amount paid, and it closes out the invoice and the order from this screen. And that's the last step. So just go back to my little notes here. Really the whole thing is we want to go through and we want to have good order management by having a good commission and overage policy put inside of the system. We want to have the connectivity set up. We want to have the price list put in, and as much of that as we can get in that relieves the inside staff, whether they're quoters or customer service folks managing these orders, to at least have a good order to start with that we're going to compare back to for not only the reconciliation side, but more importantly, for this conversation anyway, we will have the ability to forecast income accurately. Okay. So we want to apply the invoice. By the way, we have a new thing we're working on now where you can drag and drop invoices into OASIS. You can do this even on desktop. You just go to the invoice section, drag and drop it in there, and it'll take a PDF and turn it into an invoice and then apply it to your order. It's kind of neat. When that officially releases, I'll give a little more information on it, but we have a few people testing that now. All right, apply the payments and ask for money. That's, again, a whole nother process I love to talk about. So if you're not doing commission reconciliation, just let them know. And there's a few of us that really enjoy those conversations because they're important. All right, shipping on orders. I've already went through most of this. Download from the factory, manual entry. We are testing drag and dropping of emails as well. Again, I'll give more on that as we officially release it. You just take the shipping email, drop it into the order section of OASIS, and it'll convert it into shipping and pull it in. Again, if you have a factory that's downloading it, you don't want to pull theirs in because it'll override the data from the download. So, and that does feed on the shipping reports, the auto emails, web portals, everything else that you have out there. So you get multiple uses out of this data is what I'm trying to hint at. All right. Any questions now? Because now we get to the fun stuff. All right. There's really three major uses for the PAT aging report here. The first one I like to call is issues. I still like to see everyone go through and ask for money off the standard reports and the process we have there. Again, that just works well. It's well proven. But there's several safety nets that we have in the system. One of them is the backlog report. Again, I usually teach that with the commission reconciliation and just running the business side. But we have a new tool for this now. So let's talk about this. So I'm going to go back into the system, go under invoices, reports, PAT aging. And if you're following along and see the old system, it's going to work the same way. It's just, I don't think it's as clean. Okay. So what we call this section over here issues, and basically it's everything prior to this month. So right now we're in March, about to go into April, and everything prior to March, we consider those issues. And the reason why we consider them issues is that we believe that you should have gotten paid on anything to the left of this highlighted bar right here. Okay. So the way this works is as soon as you put an order in the system, it does various projections based upon shipping information, invoicing information, and payment information that you've been doing previously to build a model that says, okay, you just entered this order and you should have gotten paid. So in this example, this goes back to October of last year. And based upon the modeling that we've done, this order from 24, boy, this one really pays late. It actually, again, a lot of test data in here. Hopefully you don't see people pay this slow from 2024 to 2025. Usually it's the month, give or take. But what it does is it applies everything in this that is modeled as far as the entry date on that order, and it uses a whole bunch of different metrics on it to project when that order should apply at the line level here. And the other thing that'll do is you'll see inside the system where it'll project line by line on an order. So on this one, I bet it's just probably one line because it's mostly test data here. Yeah, it's just one. Oh, no, it's two. So on this one, it had two lines on it. Let me go back. There we go. We go back. So it has one entry, 518. Yeah, it's the whole thing. Long story short is that one is not a really good example, but I have seen cases where I'll work with a customer and they'll see the same PO in multiple months. Okay. And what that means is the system is modeled that maybe one line is a stock item that ships pretty quick, and the next item is made to order or something like that, and it's going to take a little longer to ship, and then invoice, and then you get paid. So it's smart enough to detect at the line level what's going to get paid and when. So again, it's going to at the line level project just the order over here to when it believes you're going to get paid. But it also does the same thing for invoices. So what you'll see in a given month for the issues list, basically everything prior to the current month, is you'll start with the order being on this list for the month it projects. And then as you receive invoices, it's going to move that to the invoices section. So it basically closes out the order and moves it down to the invoices section here. And what we'll see here is we have this order here. It's just I don't know, some test we have in the system. Unfortunately, I got a lot of testing. I wish I could show you your data. It's more fun. But again, it's going to, for the lines that were invoiced, it's going to project when it believes you should have gotten paid on that particular item. Okay. Now, once you get paid on this, it'll actually move the money down, and you'll see it actually start to appear in the payment section down at the bottom. I don't do a whole lot of payments in this test database. So literally it moves from orders to invoices, invoices to payments out here. Okay. Any questions so far? This is the nice issues list. And there are a couple of things I really like about this. The first one that's probably most frustrating when it comes to commission reconciliation is you end up with a factory that either does not supply invoices or they supply invoices at the end. In other words, when they pay you. By doing this and applying the information, the system will start updating, especially from the shipping information, on when it believes you should have gotten paid on this item. So if they withhold the invoices, conveniently, well, we'll use that term, then this system will trap it and say, okay, wait a minute, that should have been done. And then you can go look at it. It could be a case where a distributor is sitting on an invoice because they're mad about the project or something like that. That happens. But at least you know that something's wrong and you can go start asking for the money. Okay. So that's the issues list so far. Any questions?
Not yet.
All right. Whew. Either they don't understand or went too fast. All right, yeah, here's a good one where we have orders and we received a payment as well. Again, it's a nice little test example there. Okay, now you will see ever so often through your forecast, and all that is a sum of the basically the orders and the invoices, and then we come up with the forecast side. And it's just a convenience area on that. All those totals do show below, and it shows basically how much money you've basically are due in the past. Now, at some point, you may decide that you need to close out an order, and that all you really have to do on that one is go into it and literally close it out. So if I go into one of these orders, looks like I have several of them here, and if I go in and basically set the status to closed, then that's all I really have to do. So I end up with let me see. PO status, if I set that to close, that will remove it from the report. Now, these do run once tonight, so wait 24 hours and it'll actually pull it off the report. So I'll apply that one, and then it'll go away. So that's what you'd end up doing, even in the commission reconciliation. If you had a factory that basically is not going to pay you, or you're going to disagree or whatever, you just close it out and off you go. Okay. Okay, so that takes care of those. Let me go back and peek at my deal here. So closing out orders. Now, one detail that I do like to hint at is it was kind of funny. I was talking with a couple of customers a month or so ago, and one of them was like, "Hey, there's not a whole lot on here." It's like, "Good." And what I found out is they had a really tight commission reconciliation process because of the process they've been doing for years. And sure enough, it showed only the ones that they were fighting the factory for one reason or another. And another group basically had a lot of cleanup to do. Basically, they come a long way, but there's a lot more data here. So what we're trying to do is basically zero out the issues list over here. Now, before I leave the issues and move on to the current, what I want to do is go over to reports here, time frame, and you have different ways of slicing the data. So notice we're basically looking at information from 6 months prior to basically 12 months, if you will, but the center point basically is the current month. You can actually go back and say previous 12 months. And that's again another way of taking a look at this information and again take a look at your issues, because these are all issues. Everything in here, the system believes you should have been paid for. After about 12 months, you're probably not going to get the money as well anyway, but you can go further back if you want. But the main thing I want to hint at here is you have the capability to take a look at this information 12 months back and find out what's going on. And remember that the orders that you have in here are prior to the month you're looking at here. So again, this one right here is from 24. You're probably not going to get paid on it. You might, again, given shipping issues and other delays, but it gets harder and harder to get paid on the older orders, as you already know, as most of you already know. So, by the way, if you do have a month, you have an issue on here that you want to send to the factory, you do have the ability to download that into a spreadsheet. That's a nice little adder that we did. And it just simply gives you the capability of pulling that information together. It will pull a header information, so you know basically the month that you're on, the orders listing, and the invoice listing. So these can get long, especially if you have a factory that's having issues. Maybe they have a new accounting software or something like that running. It just allows you to pull that in another way. There's other reports you can use to do this, but one customer is like, hey, it's already there, just pull it. Okay. And you do have that capability. All right. So that goes through there. Let me take a look at my notes. And yeah, we're just wanting to zero out the issues, and then that 12-month prior is one I like to look at as well. Okay. All right. Current month. So the goal on current month is we are finding, let me go back to time frame. Sliding 12 is what I like the most. So what we're finding from people is usually by the time you start the month, we're within 10%, give or take. And again, this is process related. Ever so often we find something we have to learn about or teach the system about projecting income, because people have slightly different processes. But we think we have most of those worked out. There's just a lot of different ways people paid and different issues with factories. But what we find is you'll have so many orders in the system, because that will be typically the factories that sit on the invoices and send them with the paychecks. That's typically what you'll see here. Is you'll see a bunch of orders that you'll apply the invoices, and then you'll apply the payment, and it'll begin to zero this out. So then the invoices will be everything you've been applying invoices throughout the month to the system, or downloading if you have the download option in there, and it'll load that up, and it'll give you a forecast. And what you'll find is as you apply payments, this forecast will start every morning, it'll start coming down. In other words, it'll reduce the amount of the forecast by the amount of payments you received on the forecast items. Okay. So it is possible for you to close out the month and it still is forecast a few items you didn't get paid on. Okay. That again begins that process to say, well, why didn't we pay on those handful of items there? So what we're finding is accounting departments like this, basically these two, because it gives you the capability of going back and asking for money that you may not have enough information on previously to identify you should have gotten paid. And also it identifies new problems that are starting to pick up. So again, if this first factory here, I'd already closed out the payment and I noticed there's $3,700 here for an order, then that's probably a case where I don't have the order, and it's worth beginning the process to ask the question is like, well, why don't we have the invoice associated with this particular order? And it could be, again, a case where there's a problem on the job or whatever going on, but at least you have that visibility and you have the capability of going to resolve them before you lose the money is what you're trying to do. Okay. All right, so that's the current one. All right. No questions, William?
No, sir.
All right. Now, forecasting them. So the key is if you're following these processes, and the incentive to do that right there, again, is financial. If you're not doing it, then you're losing money, and it's significant money out there. I'll simply say this, and hopefully the people that told me this aren't listening, but I had a case where a owner gave his receptionist a cut of the money that she went and found basically using the processes that we train on. And she found enough money that she went out and bought a car, and then he didn't continue giving her the little bonus, and she quit. So there's financial incentive to do this and do it well. This is just the extra you get out of it. Now, at the end of this, because it's all automated and it's actually updating the model actually it updates the models once a month, but then it updates the report once a day. And what ends up happening is you'll see over here on the next month, usually about the 15th, it's going to start putting in orders and invoices. There won't be any payments, obviously, because you haven't received any payments yet, and it's going to forecast a number out there. And we've been getting around 10%, usually within that. It works pretty good. You just literally go in and read this thing. We have a couple of other neat things we're going to use this data with as we go forward. But it's literally just as an owner, you can walk in here and literally go to invoices, reports, and pad aging. And that's going to give you a number right there for next month. And again, about the 15th, about mid-month is when it should be good. And it may vary a little bit on how your accounting team processes. If they get backed up, it may be a little delayed when that really becomes accurate, but it's usually pretty close. All right, so that gets us through current month. Went through that, and the aging. So we did that. Forecast within 10, and again, consistent processes, we find that's what happens. And again, some of the people I've talked to and watched what they're doing, I'm impressed by how they get it all done. Some very impressive folks out there accounting wise. All right. So a little bit of change is going to happen as we go forward on this. So we actually released this a number of years ago, back when if you said the word AI, somebody would throw something at you, or ignore you. Now AI is everywhere, but this has been around for a little bit. We're giving it a facelift, first of all, and actually have tweaked the models a little bit in the background. We've been doing that all along. But the changes here, being able to click into it, click around, download. Again, we're taking all the feedback from users and just moving forward on just the usability of the screens and how to move about it. And again, it's all online. Sorry, we have to do that because the back end processors are running the modeling. Okay. All right. So the last, let me see, and then. The models go in the back end. Again, we're going to update those a little bit more as we go through the years. And as I've hinted at earlier, we're doing more and more drag and drop. In other words, being able to take the PDFs and the emails from shipping and drop those into the system and having it decode that using, be quite honest, ChatGPT in some cases, and some of our tools. And then that brings it into the system so you don't have to hand key it all. It does ask you a few questions because it has a little bit of a learning thing. You have to teach it a little bit, but once that's done, it just kind of brings it in. There's more on that going to happen later in the year, so keep your ears and keep an eye on the newsletter for that. So, all right, that's it. I'm going to trying to keep these to about 30 minutes as opposed to a full hour. Do we have any questions?
Oh, sir. Well, we just got one. Is there a plan for drag and drop help for quotes?
Actually, that's already in there. Now we're good with quotes. We're still there's a webinar on that. I tell you what, we can send that as a link that I did last year, I think it is. They'll show you the rest of some of the tricks and tips that we have as far as using it. That's still valid now, but we continue to update and enhance that as we go forward. So, but it's basically you just drag and drop. Shoot, if I go into projects in the case of quotes, I drag and drop it in the middle here, or if you're on desktop, it works there as well. You just have to have OASIS online. And probably the biggest thing people forget is we have ChatGPT and some of this stuff turned off by default. It's a security thing. And again, the webinar covers that a little bit more. But once you turn it on, you drag and drop a quote. Let's say a competitor's quote in here, it'll go ahead and convert it into OASIS and fill out a lot of the information, project name and bill of material and stuff like that. And anyway, we'll continue to enhance that. Now, you can also, when you're inside of a project, drag and drop the bill of material. It has to be in edit mode for online. But on the desktop, you drag and drop it, usually on the heading here. And let's say it's a quote response from factory, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing and translate that PDF. So works kind of like O2O if anybody's used O2O. It's just using a PDF instead. Okay, any other questions?
Will we ever see a forecast for income based on orders that haven't shipped but have a ship date, in addition to orders that have shipped and been invoiced?
That is the case here. So, good question. I did do my job well. So each one of these orders does not have either a shipping information on it or invoicing information. So this one actually hadn't even been sent. And what happens here is there's no shipping, there's no invoice on it, but it's still picked up and modeled based on the date, the catalog number, the release date. And there's a time of year, the factory, the customer, a whole bunch of different metrics on there it takes a look at, in addition to shipping information. So if the shipping information is missing, it still will forecast that order on when it believes you're going to get paid. So it goes through and plans out the shipment, and then it plans out the invoice, and then it plans out the payment, even if it has none of that. And once the models kick in that order, it projects a date. So October this year for that 2024 order. Again, this is a test database, so it's probably got all kinds of weirdness in the models, but it will do that very accurately for you, again, based on the consistency you have. And it does update again the models occasionally. So if you end up with a factory that has is starting to slip, it'll then start adjusting those modelings based on payments or ship dates. I've seen it extend out as well because they're having trouble shipping stuff. And it'll actually start adjusting those projected ship dates internally and actually move, unfortunately, your date paid further out. So works quite good. So yes, we already do that.
Is there an update for commission on account reporting for O4 coming? Hopefully a method to duplicate the report via JSON.
Yes and yes. So look for about mid-year. Basically, we're running through all the reports, and because of AI, we're able to do some really cool stuff. So long story on that one. Keep an eye on the newsletter, and you'll see that come out. But yeah, that's one I've been really wanting to redo for a number of reasons. Any other questions? These are good ones.
I don't see any.
Okay. Well, with that, we're excited about this. Have been for years now. I've been real happy to see more and more folks start adopting this report because it just works. It was fun to put together. Wasn't fun getting yelled at a few times as we were trying to get the models all working, but it works well. It's been around for a while. It has a facelift. Look for 4.11 for the release as far as making it look better, but it is active right now for anybody with OASIS Online. So anyway, I do appreciate your time. I look forward to talking to you next month. And if you have any questions between now and then, contact us. Support at oasissalessoftware.com or give us a call at 501-843-6750. Thank you very much.